Because anybody from around the world, even the poorest kid in some village somewhere can be a good enough athlete to come to the Olympics.
We are all small
Yeah.
in the eyes of the gods upon Mount Olympus who we are performing for. That's the Olympics. It's the greatest. It's the best humanity can do.
Yeah.
In sport. And this year there was a red carpet. This was the most celebrity-focused.
But this is the country. Like, you don't recognize people in China except Xi Jinping. Everyone else unrecognized.
Sure.
That's like their culture.
But this had Lady Gaga.
Yes.
Had
Why
that.
do you say Lady Gaga like that? She's actually a very talented performer.
Ever.
Okay.
Celebrity.
And she had dancers come down. So that was the show. I'll say the good things about that. Lady Gaga was all right. She was really good. And then Celine Dion, fantastic. I won't hear a bad word about Celine Dion.
Then the bearded drag queen was recognizably from RuPaul's Drag Race. That is a celebrity. The blue guy who was Dionysus was a French comedian, I think. That was a celebrity. Then you had, just a lot of...
There were a lot of celebrities.
Yeah.
It was like a celebrity Olympics, and it's like, that's not for this. That's what film festivals are.
I'd like to read something that I read on Twitter about this that I thought was very insightful. It was from this guy, Devin Erickson. I do not know who this is or support anything if he turns out to be it. This really put into words what I think I've always said and why I don't like a lot of modern anything, a lot of modern entertainment, period. I don't agree with all of this, but I do
don't
think...
like anything. You're the oldest man I know.
I know. I don't agree with anybody about anything. All right, I just sent it to you. You should read it because people like your voice.
Okay. So, this is a wall of text by this man. We're going to come back into how I don't think they should have went past 140 characters. Because this is why. Okay. This and Disney Star Wars and all of modern Hollywood and all of Manhattan Trad Pub can be explained in one simple idea. And no, it isn't Satan. No religious suppositions are required. What's going on here is venial and even more depraved. Narcissism. You see, there are two kinds of artistic creativity. Both are based on egotism, but one is healthy and the other is destructive. The first says, art is about beauty and truth. I will create that which is beautiful and true, that which uplifts those who look upon it, and my ego will be satisfied when my work is acknowledged as good, both by myself and others. Yeah, that's accurate. The second says, art is about self-expression. I will create art based on whatever is in myself, no matter how ugly, deceptive, and low. I will make myself visible in every aspect of my art, and my ego will be satisfied, because I will be the center of attention with everybody looking at me. This is based on the sick version of egotism, narcissism. It is the ego that demands to be the center of attention regardless of what others actually wish to see or would like to pay attention to. It is the revenge of the neglected child, not on the mother who ignored him, but on the entire universe. Great art is not about self-expression. It comes from the self. It is shaped by the self. But the truth it expresses is shared and universal. This is why it speaks to others, not just the artist. When we look upon a fine sculpture, we see only David, not Michelangelo. When we read a great story, we do not see Tolkien, and we forget for a moment that Frodo and Sam aren't real. We can say Van Gogh painted one white iris because he was lonely, isolated within a crowd. But if we do say that, we care because we too have been lonely. Great art makes the artist invisible. He waits backstage until the art is done, and it is time for him to step out and take a bow, receive his applause, and be satisfied in a work well done. He does not stand between the audience and their enjoyment of the work. But for this precise reason, great art cannot emerge from narcissism. The narcissist cannot bear to be upstaged by anything, even the work of his own hand, the child of his own brain. The narcissistic artist creates art not to please others, but to force others to look at him. He must stamp his personality on every corner of the work, make it his and his alone, and remind the audience, in every moment, in every place they direct their gaze, that this work is his, and that he is what truly matters here.
He goes on to say, it's look at this. It's not look at this, but look at me. Mm-hmm. He says this is why the left is obsessed with representation in art. They cover themselves in ugly, mismatched tattoos, dye their hair pink, purple, and blue. It's why they write self-indulgent stories about identity and finding your squad. They are screaming their identity at the void, never realizing that it's not only possible, but easy to be unique without being interesting or useful. which is cutting. That is
Well,
cutting.
yeah. And the thing is, we know a lot of very talented people,
Sure.
very very talented people in all aspects,
Absolutely.
and they're not, when you meet them, it's not, hey, look at me.
Right.
It's just like, this is a regular person,
Yeah.
basically, and
mean-
then they express themselves through this craft that they can do really
Whatever
really
their
well.
craft is.
Yeah.
I mean, do you agree with that?
Absolutely. Truth is beauty and beauty truth.
Yeah.
And that's obviously not original, but that's what it comes down to, what art is supposed to be.
Mhm.
It is supposed to show a greater truth.
Right.
And you are supposed to get out of the way. I'm not supposed to see the brushstrokes.
Right.
Even in a Van Gogh,
Mhm.
I don't see the brushstrokes. You see the thing and you're like, oh my God, those are brushstrokes.
Mhm.
But he's done something more with them. And like when people paint with palette knives, it's, basically I'm not supposed to see the medium. Then the artist would be a part of the medium.
Right.
I'm supposed to see this like great work. And it takes their whole lives to learn sometimes, and sometimes not.
Right.
But this overarching, and we've had it going on for maybe, at this point, 1960s, 1950s, where this modern art came through, and it's like, I can identify this as a so and so,
Right.
but I don't think the work itself is beautiful.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's ego. Ego has infiltrated all art forms in the West, and I think this Olympic ceremony is the perfect example of that. Especially when you compare it. I'm comparing it to China, Beijing.
Well, that's a different
Because-
culture, but
Right,
our culture,
but only because I remember that the best. But also,
Yeah.
we were able to find bits and pieces of the Russia.
that's a different culture too.
Sure, and
That's a different. It does reflect the West and
Mhm.
Western mentality. That is an honest expression of what the West is right now. And I would argue that the West is, since we abandoned God. Because our great Western works, when you really want to look at it,
yeah,
it's about understanding the truth of the Bible, truth through God, and trying to express how the artist at most comes out through that. We have this, the Garden of Earthly Delights is on the wall.
yeah, our Bosch.
Yeah, it's massive. It's the three part that we got out of Ukraine right before the Russians.
Oh my God, that's right.
The day
Yeah.
before it shipped.
Yeah, this. Anyway, go ahead.
Anyway, so when you look at this, like, this artist is trying to tell a greater story about our place in the universe and our creator and our responsibility, and so this is a great painting. But any great painting you see, when we look at the greatness of the West, it is talking about an idea.
Right.
And recently we have kind of been infected with this extreme narcissism, which, go back to that video, The Cult of Self,
Mm-hmm.
because it's at least since then where we've abandoned every other thing except for the ego. Because coming out of our dropping God, we're going for ideas.
Right.
And when you read like Hemingway and you read, I would say, Mailer, they were still talking about great human conditions and so forth. So you might even say, since the Pax Americana, basically since war has been over and we've no longer needed anything, and then our entire society has become about the self, because we're not even susceptible to what God can do for us, because we have God can do to us, because we've cured plagues.
Mm-hmm.
Most women survive childbirth right now. We haven't had major wars. We landed on the moon. Who is our God but ourself?
Very good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's where we are.
So to your point, the Aya Nakamura section
Mhm.
is Western music. It's in French, but I looked up the songs. They're about look at me, look at the things I have.
But
That's-
I will defend that one. That is our culture. That is our culture.
That's that should be celebrated.
The songs are good. The dancers were fantastic.
There was that tribute to love. Paris is the city of love.
It was a tribute to
This
love
is-
in literature.
If they hadn't done the drag queen runway,
Yes.
I feel like this would have been what everybody was mad about. This was overshadowed by the other thing.
The
but
drag
this
queen
was
runway.
worse to me.
Well, it's
If you have those types of sensibilities, because they're like, Paris, the city of love, where you, a man, can meet a man and a woman, strangers, in a library, and then go have a threesome somewhere. Like that. What are we doing? Like.
they're confusing love with lust. But there was a whole Dionysian theme to this, which I kind of appreciate, but it doesn't have to be so explicit.
Fine. Then there was a rapper that shouted out Snoop Dogg. Whatever. it's absurd.
You hate Western culture.
It's what I said up top. The Olympics.
You hate modern Western culture.
Human beings doing their absolute best in the eyes of the Olympians on the gods of
the
sports.
gods. Yeah.
And we're gonna have this ceremony, this Olympic opening ceremony, was so much look at me, the human being, look at the things me, the human being, has.
Western culture now.
It's bad.
I mean, we can try to remake Western culture, and a lot of people are actively trying. And this is a problem. The fact that Christian nationalism is coming back.
Yeah, that's not good.
That's
but I think
really bad.
I think it is coming about.
But it's a reaction to
response.
something.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a reaction into us falling into this cult of the self, which really is shallow and empty and can't give us what we want. So we're seeking something from our past.
Right.
And that is Christianity when we were culturally great.
Right. And yeah, they do. I don't think that people on that side are having an honest conversation, because they say things like, the left despises beauty. They want to kill beauty. Beauty is subjective, obviously. But I think what a more productive way to say that doesn't, get shrouded in obvious racism, because they're not coming from it from the same place, I don't think, is that the left makes everything about themselves and celebrates these unproductive elements of human nature.
I will say, this isn't necessarily reflected in the Olympic Games, but I see this a lot, that people on the left reject the idea of beauty because it means that there is ugly. So that means that since there's someone out there that's ugly, we shouldn't look at beautiful people and celebrate them. But when you go back to, let's say, youth. Youth is given to us by the gods. So when you appreciate a youth, it's like appreciating a flower. When I say a youth, I'm talking about a young, beautiful person. I read a lot of classics stuff, so it's annoying. So yeah, I say a youth. You see a beautiful youth, and that is just reflecting God's beauty, because they didn't do anything to be beautiful. Especially when you go back in the day, people aren't like drinking shakes. They're not working out constantly. If someone's beautiful, God made them beautiful. They're not doing all these things to be beautiful. So it's something that you could stop and appreciate as given to you, a gift from the gods.
Right.
And even now, we used to appreciate beautiful people up until very, very recently. And then we had this thing in the past 10 years, and I'm hoping we're coming past it, where we're just like, everybody is just as beautiful as everyone else. That's not true.
Right. It's the thing, it's almost hack at this point to talk about it, but it is. It is what it is. It's the left is denying the shared reality we all live in.
Hierarchies. Some people are better than others. And that's the thing about the Olympics, is that some people are better than others.
Right.
You're sitting at home watching because you're not as good as these people.
Right.
And you should be happy you get to watch, because that means you, too, can appreciate greatness and beauty and not be part of it.
The Olympics is sort of inherently anti-leftist ideology.
It is. These people are better. It's a meritocracy. These people are objectively better than you.
Right.
Their parents are more proud than your parents.
Right.
Most of them are also better looking than you. So
and again, a worldview that is entirely that, I don't think is necessarily good.
It's terrible.
No, there is space for everybody belongs, everybody is beautiful. But the Olympics is for this thing, and we need to appreciate greatness.
Yeah.
And denying greatness is denying objective reality.
Yeah. No, once every 4 years, everyone's got to get together, sit down and eat it, because you didn't make it to the Olympics. I didn't make it to the Olympics either. You just take it to the face, and watch these people who are better than you at this thing.
Yeah.
And maybe if you had focused on some obscure thing like water polo or archery and spent your entire life doing it, you could have made it too, but probably not.
Man, I should have been on a handball team.
You didn't even know about handball.
No.